Hi, this is for my pre-algebra class, and I believe this is on page 10 of your Unit 2A packet. So these are now multi-step equations beyond 2 steps. I'm going to show you a general strategy to solve them. There are times that you could successfully do things in a different order and still get the right answer. But if you knew how to do that, you probably wouldn't be listening to this video. So I'll accept the challenge of showing you a method that will work. So we're still, what we're going to want to do generally, it says at the top of the page, but we're going to want to simplify each side of the equation. The right side is already very simple, just 167. So we want to simplify the left side, and that will include that we are going to distribute that's how we're going to get rid of the parentheses. So that's what we're going to do first, which means we're going to take this -3 and multiply it times both things inside the parentheses. So -3 times 1, -3, -3 times -8m, positive 24m. Right, so I'm done with my distributing. I'm just going to erase this so it's not looking so cluttered up there. And then I need to bring down the rest of the equation. And then the other thing that's included in simplifying, like when we only had expressions without equal sign, is combining like terms. So before we start moving things to the other side, let's go ahead and tighten things up. Just like if you were moving your household, you would pack your things first. So we're going to pack things up. These two can get together. So I still have 24m, but the -3 and the +2 make -1. That -1 could be at the front or the end, but it is the one that's negative, and the 24m is positive. Still have my equal 167. What you'll notice now, or hopefully should notice, is this now looks like your two-step equations that we've already done. Now we can add 1, so we're undoing that subtraction by adding, or you might think of the 1 moving to the other side, and when it crosses the line it changes its sign. Either way, after I simplify that, I have 24m is equal to 168, and then we'll divide by 24. So we're undoing the multiplication by dividing. We're using inverse operations. So then this gives me m is equal to 7. That is my solution. M is equal to 7. So let's try a couple more. Remember, it's a video. You can pause me and write things down. So if I erase too quickly, back up and take another look. Okay, a few of these are a little easier than others, so I'm going to skip around. I don't want to just do the easiest ones and leave you with the hardest ones to finish on your own. So sometimes there aren't any parentheses, but I still want to simplify. So in this case, simplifying is going to include getting those two variable terms together. So remember that counts as 1n. 1n and 3n make 4n. We still have the -7 equal -15. So whether I call it -7 or -7, it's the same, okay? Now we need to get rid of the 7, so to undo that subtracting of 7, I will add 7. because a negative 7 and a positive 7 make 0. But to do that on one side of the equation, I must do it on the other side of the equation so that my equation remains in balance and equal. So negative 15 plus 7, they're different. I subtract. The bigger one is negative. Now we'll divide both sides by 4. So n is equal to negative 2. In the equation, after we solve, if we choose, we can test it to make sure it works. We would just go back to the original equation, and every place where there's an n, I'm going to write negative 2 instead. I'm replacing it with negative 2. Just using some parentheses there because it needs to multiply. So then 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So I have negative 2, negative 7, negative 6. If I add those together, I do get negative 15. So that is true if I just go left to right. And that lets me know that indeed my solution is correct. Number 3 and number 4, there are actually two different ways that you could solve this. And if you've worked on one of the IXL lessons in the J's, they often will divide first. And so just know you can do it both ways, but if you are giving the reasons, you need to pay attention to the steps as they have done them. So I'm going to show you number 3 done two different ways. Right? So I'm just going to scratch out number 4 for now because we're going to need that space. So first, we could use parentheses. That's what we are probably most of my students will do. And in many cases, that is what we must do first. So that's not a bad idea. It also then makes the next step look very familiar. Now it's a two-step equation. So now we can undo the addition by subtracting. Now I said subtract, but we actually need to combine those. They're both negative, so they're going to add together to make a larger negative. Then we'll divide both sides by negative 36. Negative 36 divided by negative 36 is positive 1. So this is just 1m now, so I just write m. Negative 216 divided by negative 36. Two negatives when I divide is a positive, and that is 6. So that's one way to do that problem. The other way to do that problem, and you could only do this first if on the left with the variable you just have parentheses with one number on the outside being multiplied. We could undo the multiplication with division first. Then I have just 6m minus 4 because I divided both sides by negative 6. I do not need to divide the part in the parentheses. It feels the division because now it's not going to get multiplied. And then on the other side, let's see, 6 goes into 19. This would be 3 and 2. Yes, 32. And two negatives make a positive. Now I have a two-step equation. So I'll add 4. and then divide by 6 to get m is equal to 6. Same answer both ways. You don't have to do the problem both ways. I'm just showing you that there's more than one way to do it. Now, it would be different down here. I could not divide first because I have this 5 plus. I cannot divide first because I have this. Okay? Okay, if you'll go on to number 9, I'll work number 9 and number 10. These have lots of steps. So we do have distribution to do. That means we're going to multiply the number on the outside of the parentheses times both things inside that set of parentheses. So 8 times 1 and 8 times 5x. Then 6 times 6x and 6 times negative 5. And then we need to put our like terms together. So I've got these two that are variable terms, and I have these two that are constants. If you prefer, you could write negative 22 plus 76x. Then we would have to add 22 to both sides. I've got 76x is equal to 0. Well, I can divide 0 by any number I want. If I have no money, I could share it with 76 people. They all get 0. So this says that x is equal to 0. So let's test that. So if I wanted to test it, I would be replacing all of the x's in the original problem with 0. Oops, that's okay. Plus 6 times 6 times 0 minus 5 equal negative 22. Well, thing about 0, 5 times 0 is 0, and then 1 plus 0 is just 1. So this is 8 times 1. 6 times 0 is 0, and 0 minus 5 is negative 5. 8 times 1, 8. 6 times negative 5, negative 30, and 8 take away 30 is negative 22. Voila, it does work. I got a little sloppy there, my apologies, but it does work. Okay, I'm going to erase part of the check because it is encroaching on my space for number 10. I like to have a nice clean workspace here, at least that part of the screen. Okay, so feel free to pause me and write this down, but I think I'm actually going to erase all of this just so the screen is not so cluttered while we work. Alright. Presto. So lots of negatives in this problem. We're going to have to keep track of our negatives here. So as we distribute, negative 8 times negative 1, so positive 8, negative 8 times negative 2, remember the sign is like it's attached to that 2m, so positive 16m, because when the signs are the same, it'll be positive in multiplication. Negative 6, think of this sign being part of the 6, part of the same term. Negative 6 times 2m, negative 12m. And then negative 6 times negative 4, positive 24, is equal to 60. Alright, so our distributing is done. We have distributed, I have erased my bad. We have distributed the negative 8 times the first set of parentheses and the negative 6 times the second set of parentheses. Now we can combine like terms because we want to simplify that left side. So the 8 and the 24, those would be like terms. And the 16m and the negative 12m. Now that I've made it nice and simple, it's just a two-step equation. So we'll undo the addition by subtracting 32. And then we'll divide by 4. Alright, so I hope that's helpful. There'll be another video that includes equations with variables on both sides. There was an IXL lesson, I think C11, no, J11, sorry. There was an IXL lesson that had multiple terms, but the packet was the big part of the assignment for this. And then there's also another part of the packet where there are variables on both sides, but that'll be in a different video.